Hi, today we are going to make pound cake, and pound cake is an old cake. It's been around for a long time. It originally got its name because it was a pound of flour, pound of sugar, pound of butter, pound of eggs. And so obviously it weighs significantly more than a pound. Alright, we have scaled this recipe down, and you will be doing some math. You will be dividing the recipe by 3 to work on your math skills. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is preheat the oven, which is already done. And then we're going to prepare our pan, and we are going to make this in a loaf pan because we have scaled down the recipe that we don't need a full bundt pan. To prepare this, what I like to do is I like to spray it, and then I flour it as well. So you'll take some flour, kind of sprinkle it in, and then you'll just tap the pan so all the edges are covered with flour and the spray oil. And this will help your cake not stick to the pan so that you have a chance of getting it out of here when we're all said and done. Okay, and then the extra flour you just dump in the garbage and your pan is all ready. Alright, so that you always want to get your pans ready before you start your baking. Okay, next we're going to combine our sugar and shortening and butter, and we're going to cream those together. When you cream ingredients for baking, it is always fat and sugar. Okay, so here's our ½ cup of shortening and 1 cup of butter. And 1 cup of butter is 2 sticks, which all of you math wizards know because you learned all of your conversions earlier in the semester. Okay. And when you make cakes, you want your fat soft at room temperature, not melted, but at room temperature so that it'll cream real nicely for you. All right. So I'll go ahead and get that started, and I will add the sugar. And the sugar, you need 2½ cups. And then we will let this mix, and we'll be back in just a minute. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, you can see how light and fluffy this already is. That is exactly what you need when you cream fat and sugar together. I'm scraping down the sides. All right, just to make sure everything is evenly mixed. Okay. And now we're going to add the eggs. And you want to add the eggs about 1 at a time, and I cracked all of these into one thing just to make it go a little faster. So I'm just going to pour 1 at a time. The reason you add them 1 at a time is to incorporate more air into your batter. If you just dump them all in, they'll all be mixed in about 10 seconds. Where at 1 at a time, you're going to get about 50 seconds, which is more air beat into the mixture. And there's egg number 4 and egg number 5. So once again, I'm going to scrape down the sides because some of the batter gets stuck up here on the top and does not get mixed well with the rest. But again, this is very fluffy and creamy, which is exactly what you want. Okay, now we're going to add the flour, alternating with the milk, but we have to end with the flour. So we're going to do 1/3, half, another 1/3, the last half, the last 1/3, which some of you are going, okay, fraction, stop, I don't like it. All right, it does not have to be exact. You just need to know you're adding this 3 times and the milk twice. Okay? So what I'm going to do is, you want to add flour when your mixer's off, or else you're going to be covered in a cloud. So I'm just going to add some of the flour here. And I'm going to turn this on low. Now, our almond extract we added with the milk. So the almond extract is already in here. Okay, so I'm going to add about half the milk. Now I'm going to add half the flour. That's our second addition of flour. And then we're going to add the rest of the milk. And then we're going to add the remaining flour. I'm going to turn this off. You don't want to overmix the cake. If you do, it'll bake really funky. You'll get this like mountaintop at the center of your cake. Okay. And it will also can be tough if you've overmixed it. It can also be tough from too many eggs, but we did not add too many eggs. Okay. So I'm just going to give this another quick mix. And this looks very nice. And again, you want to get as much batter off the utensils here as you can. Now, there are different size loaf pans. And many times students think that they just need to get all of the batter into the loaf pan, even though they might have a smaller loaf pan. So you'd have to use a little bit of common sense here. You don't want to fill the muffin pan to the top, because as it rises, it'll boil over because it hasn't baked yet. So you always want to stop at about 2/3 full. So I might have extra batter here. And if that's the case, you can ask your teacher for another loaf pan or some muffin tins and make these into some muffins as well. Okay? And I think we can fit just a little bit more. So if you see, I have a lot of batter left. So I may make this into some muffins or into a smaller loaf pan, but I definitely cannot fit that in here or we will have a huge mess in the oven. All right, so we're going to put this in the oven and it is going to bake for about an hour. All right, and so your teacher will take this out of the oven and label it for you for tomorrow. Our pound cake has come out of the oven and it has cooled and it is out of the pan, and you can see it came right out of the pan without ripping or tearing because we had greased and floured that pan. Now for serving pound cake, it'll depend on what you're going to do with it, but this cake is heavy. I mean, it's a pound cake and it means it weighs more than a pound because you use about a pound of each ingredient. But you need to use a bread knife, which is serrated, and you saw, okay, and I will cut a couple slices here for you. Now, okay, you can see this is a very dense cake. And then for service, you could put it on plates and make a strawberry sauce, or you could do whipped cream with the strawberry, or just drizzle a little chocolate. You could paint the plate. If you're putting it in a parfait or something, you could cut it up and go from there. Okay, enjoy.